Social media in recent times has revolutionized the sports world. Applications such as Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube allow fans from all over the world to share their opinions, meet new people, and learn more about their favorite sports. But with the growing presence of social media in the sports world, being a fan of a team or player has started to become a more grueling activity. For many reasons, NBA social media has turned into a toxic place where it is rare to find civil discourse about the sport we all love. But why is that? One of the primary reasons of the constant hostility on NBA social media is the rings argument. Ever since LeBron started to close the gap between himself and Michael Jordan as the definitive GOAT, the rings argument has become one of the defining arguments to separate the two players. And it's understandable to compare players' ring counts because in the end, every NBA legend's ultimate goal is to win the championship and lift the Larry O'Brien trophy. Unfortunately, this part of players' resumes in today's world is used to credit or discredit players' entire careers, which is unfair because winning a championship is a team accomplishment, and some players unfortunately do not get the opportunity to play for GMs who are as great at putting together talent as Jerry Krause, who crafted the 90s Bulls rosters, or R.C. Buford, who put together the Spurs dynasty. And there are several players who, if we don't look at rings, would sit higher on people's list of the greatest players of all time. Players such as Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Russell Westbrook, or even Chris Paul. And since these players fail to win championships, we then end up with sports analysts getting on these players for not having any rings despite the other accomplishments in their careers. And two analysts guilty of being critical because of ring count are Shaquille O'Neal and Stephen A. Smith. Both of these men have criticized players such as Charles Barkley.
You know what I do? I bring championship. That's what I do. So don't worry about what I do. That's how I do.
The next one we have to do
is... You can't tell me how to get ready. Get yourself ready.
I did not even
okay, well, I'm just saying.
But I'm just saying.
That's how I got ready, because you know why?
You didn't play for the Celtics, did you?
Yeah. And I got one of these, too. And 4 of these, too. That's all right, though. My legacy was already set. 4 rings. How many rings you got? How many rings you going to be remembered for? That's what I thought.
Hey, look, if I had Dwayne Wade and Kobe carry me up and down the court, I'd have 5 or 6 too.
I got 3 finals MVP, Chuck.
Because you
Google me, Chuck.
Everybody knows you were a great player.
You see that?
Everybody knows you were a great player.
You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to championship.
No,
he ain't got to repent
that's
that. He got to step up and play.
We all didn't have other players carrying us up and down the court. You can yell as much as you want to.
I got 3 finals MVP, Chuck. I mean,
you were a great player.
Thank you.
But you wouldn't have got
See, it's uncalled for.
That's uncalled for.
Totally. I don't even know what his name is.
First of all, this damn idiot watching me. I'm the one getting paid.
So, hey. Maybe watching you.
Feels like. Kenny, I know you know what that feels.
Yes.
I'm gonna stop it right there.
And Russell Westbrook for not winning any rings.
And everybody wants to talk about your numbers. What I was saying, Mrs. Russell Westbrook, along with Mr. Russell Westbrook, is that you've been so phenomenal with the numbers. We don't care anymore about the numbers. We know what you can do. You won a league MVP, averaging a triple-double. The first time that was done since Oscar Robertson did it in 1962. You're averaging a triple-double now. That particular season, you won league MVP. You registered like 42 triple-doubles in a season. We know what you can do with the numbers. What about the chip? What about the championship? Russell Westbrook is a man that signed a 5-year, $206 million contract. Russell Westbrook is making generational money, as he pointed out last night. Russell Westbrook is averaging over $41 million a year. And championships don't matter? Really? That's not the culture of basketball I come from.
And the unfortunate part about this is that it causes casual NBA fans to devalue the other parts of these players' impressive careers. And being a legend to these types of fans then becomes solely about winning rings. And since everyone is on social media nowadays, players even see the chatter about not being able to win a championship. And people seem to forget that these players are humans, they're not robots. They do get offended by the words of fans and media who partake in discrediting their careers. And when the players take the words of their critics personally, it results in the formation of super teams in order to combat the narratives of them not being winners. Then, the formation of super teams causes another issue to arise. The same NBA media members and fans who criticize the player for not being able to win a ring are now going to complain about the formation of super teams and the lack of parity in the NBA.
This is what's rubbing me the wrong way. It's not the KD, Kyrie, James Harden thing. I got that. That's Lethal Weapon 3. I'm good with that, Max. It's not a problem. But when the names Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge come to my mind, that's what really irritates me about this, and here's why. Because I'm looking at guys. I remember the last 2 years in Portland, LaMarcus Aldridge averaging 23 a game, and he was supposed to be that glue, with Tim Duncan fading away into the twilight before he was going to retire, with Kawhi Leonard being in, all of that stuff. He was supposed to be that guy. Blake Griffin, remember? I mean, come on now. Remember Lob City? Remember all of that? You were there.
I was there.
You were hosting. You was hosting a radio show in LA for 6 years. You remember Lob City? He was the cornerstone of the franchise. Both of them came up short. Never even been in the conference finals, for crying out loud, okay? Even though I think LaMarcus Aldridge was at least once in San Antonio. I'm just saying, when I look at that, and then I see you jumping on this bandwagon, there's something that turns me off about that, because you were supposed to be one of those dudes. You were supposed to be one of those dudes who was the cornerstone of the franchise that was leading the team to the promised land, as opposed to just sitting up there and just chilling out and having a ring slid on your finger. Right? That's what I'm talking about. That's a turnoff for me.
So now we get stuck in a paradox where players cannot win no matter what they do, because according to the media and fans, to be considered a legend, you have to win a ring, but it has to be done in a specific way. To these people, the only rings that count are the 2011 Dirk-type finals runs, or the 2009-2010 Lakers wins, where the star player had to endure years of agony and incompetence in the front office until they finally had the opportunity to win a championship. So players like LeBron and Kevin Durant, who are only products of the unfair media criticizing their free agency signings, are seen as inferior to players like Michael Jordan, who toughed it out in Chicago, and Kobe Bryant, who toughed it out in Los Angeles. But if you've seen The Last Dance, you would know that Jordan was lucky to have a guy like Jerry Krause at the helm of the front office. Despite his ego and conceitedness, Jerry Krause was an excellent basketball mind. It wasn't a coincidence that the team traded for Pippen in the 1987 draft, or that Phil Jackson became the head coach in '89, or that the team signed Dennis Rodman in 1995. All these moves were calculated and were the result of competence within the front office of the Bulls. But today it's easy to gloss over all the underlying factors that may lead to the failure of teams to put together rosters talented enough to complement their superstars. And as a result, you get superstar players wasting their talents, like LeBron during his first stint in Cleveland, Charles Barkley in Philly, Kevin Garnett in Minnesota, and Allen Iverson in Philly. And even to a lesser extent, you get players like Boogie Cousins in Sacramento, Dominique Wilkins in Atlanta, and Kevin Love in Minnesota, wasting away their careers. But unfortunately, sports talking heads and casual fans like to debate players by comparing their rings instead of watching their games and comparing play style, impact, and other accolades. And this type of nitpickiness within NBA circles is awful for the game, because it puts the idea into the minds of players that no matter what you accomplish during your career, even if you're a multiple-time MVP, a member of several All-NBA teams, make many All-Star appearances, you're still a failure because of your inability to win a ring. So as a fan, you should not be surprised when a player like James Harden decides to force his way out of Houston, or when Durant goes to create a super team in Golden State, because they do hear what the media says. Despite what the players may say, they do hear all the critics, and they do seek the approval of the fans and media who try to define legacy by ring count. Instead of hating on players who haven't won rings, we should appreciate how loyal these players are to the organizations that actually do try to build around these superstars. So players like Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bradley Beal should get more recognition for trying to tough it out in cities where front offices actually do try to build competent teams around their superstars. And additionally, we should appreciate the superstars and future legends who may move around a bit, but they don't join super teams, and they give it their all every night, even if their efforts don't always result in championships, because players like Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and others are future first ballot Hall of Famers regardless of the number of rings they win, and they should be appreciated while they are still producing in the NBA all these years later. Hopefully sometime in the near future, we can go back to appreciating all the talented NBA players who we are privileged enough to watch on a nightly basis, regardless of the rings that they may win or may not win. Thank you.